Hi, it's the end of the day. My kids are sleeping, so I might look kind of haggard and tired, but there's something that I've been kind of mulling over in my head, and I think as more of this group is starting to maybe dabble in Laura Doyle and the Empowered Wife, maybe you're listening to a podcast, you're looking up the book, maybe you're reading reviews. There's a few things I wanted to kind of clarify and give examples for because it definitely does you can get the wrong impression that Laura Doyle encourages women to kind of be like kind of the stereotypical 1950s housewife and also just like, not have original thoughts, just kind of like a skill Laura Doyle suggests is duct tape. But duct tape is meant to be used when you are tempted to control or criticize your husband. It's not meant to be used all the time. In another group that I help admin, I made a video a long time ago talking about how it does feel like in the beginning you are using it a lot if you had that habit of doing that in the past. Once you've established more respect and you're kind of more proficient in the skills, things are shifting in your house, it's a lot easier to naturally offer your input, especially on things that are, for the family. For the household, etc., and your husband often will actually want your input. It might not have been the same when you were constantly usurping his authority, constantly, making decisions for the family, undermining him. But once in this respect is established, duct tape, and you're more in the practice of controlling yourself and your thoughts, duct tape isn't used as much. But you still need to make sure you're being respectful. Okay. What I really want to talk about is I see this happen where women get so worried about, using messing up with the skills and that they kind of end up being like a doormat to a degree. And I want to address that. So, Laura Doyle wants to empower women. She doesn't want you to be a doormat. She doesn't want you just accepting bad treatment. And I'm going to give some examples of some skills and some of the tools within the skills that Laura Doyle suggests and how they can be used. So, say your husband is, being mean. So he's not just like, being slightly critical or saying, something and you're feeling like you're low on self care. So you're being sensitive. Like he's being mean. Like he is yelling at you. He is calling you names. He is really not treating you correctly. Um, some options with Laura Doyle would be for you to say ouch and leave the room. If he continues to follow you around, you would say, I can't, which is a Laura Doyle tool, I can't be spoken to this way, and you leave the house. While you leave the house, it's recommended to do some self care, try to do something to help you emotionally and mentally to get to a better place. You can pray and trust, that your husband's doing the same. You're an expert in your own marriage, how long you need to be gone for. I hope this isn't happening a lot. I hope this isn't a habit in your household. If this is an extreme, if this is like the norm and it gets worse, then you definitely are going to need further support. I am not the best for these more involved and difficult situations. You definitely want an expert coach. There might need to be some time of separation, but generally, we're just talking about, he got a little angry, but it's crossed a line, and you cannot accept that treatment. And it's actually worse for him as well if you were to just, you know, put on your duct tape and kind of just accept that bad treatment because you're not reflecting back to him that it's not okay. And he might start to hopefully deep down he knows it's not okay. Um, but you do need to stand up with dignity for yourself in a respectful way. So there's a huge difference when you react with dignity and when you're empowered, and you say, I can't be treated like that. And you leave the house, you're not making threats, you're not issuing ultimatums, you're not yelling back, you're not getting to his level. You're, of course, you might be a little emotional. We're all human, but you're being dignified. And when you are calm and acting with dignity, it really he can't put the blame on you, because if you escalate the situation in his head, he might be able to like blame you. um but if you're dignified, and that's where Laura Doyle talks about, if you're cleaning up your side of the street, there gets to a point where men really have to be faced with their own stuff. And they might have already been aware of their own stuff, and honestly, like, I don't I'm kind of thinking of worse examples of my in my head, because I have helped women through a lot of different scenarios. But I do generally think that men are good. I think they want to be loving husbands. I think they fall short just like we do. I think we have wounds and triggers. And you might have been a trigger for him in the past. You might be a trigger currently if you're disrespecting him, saying unkind things to him, whatever it was in the past that you would do to hurt him. So it's going to take some time for him to recognize that you're not a threat, you're not a trigger anymore, and to figure out what to do that. So when you clean up your side of the street, oftentimes men are forced to look inward. And when we gently, stand with dignity for ourselves, like, there's no one left to point the finger at except themselves. And I might be being dramatic, and I don't want to make it like this, like, battle and this war. But when things are really bad, I'm talking about like that, but even just in small things as well. The more that you work on yourself with the intimacy skills that Laura Doyle shares, and you show up differently to conflict, like, overwhelming majority of the time, we see men finally deal with their stuff that they need to deal with, their own problems, challenges, flaws. And also, if you're removing some of your own personal, the fuel you're putting on the fire, the triggers, that naturally, obviously, is going to calm things down as well. So I want to encourage, because I do not want women to think that Laura Doyle is promoting women, just to wear duct tape and just kind of be what Laura Doyle calls it, the girl of fun and life, and just be like, oh, this is fine, everything's fine, when it's not. We do want to be looking for the best in our spouse. We want to look for, chances and when they are showing love and stuff, but we can't accept bad treatment. But there is a huge difference in how you can respond and to that bad treatment, and that's where Laura Doyle offers a different approach that might actually lead to more healing and unity further down the road, or even in the short term immediate. So I just wanted to offer that, because if you're starting to dabble in it, because there is some criticism of Laura Doyle saying that she tells women that they should stay with it, like, and be abused, and that's not true. Um, so I wanted to offer that clarification, because that's kind of been heavy on my heart, because we do want women to be empowered. And especially if you're just getting little tidbits here and there from me, it can also be confusing. So that's again why I suggest at least maybe listen to the audiobook. It's actually free if you have an Audible membership right now. Libraries have it. It really does provide such a helpful framework, and then I would love to help support you in implementing it. Our first book club meeting was great. I'm looking forward. We're still setting the date for this week. This week we're going to be talking about self-care. But yeah, I just wanted to share that, just in case you're hearing things about, criticism of Laura Doyle, you're getting kind of like your red flags are kind of like, oh, I don't know about this. This doesn't sound so good. Once you read the whole book, you'll understand a lot more. But yes, Laura Doyle does not advocate for women to be doormats. She wants them to be empowered to share their desires with their husband, to not stand for bad treatment. But oftentimes we have to also flip it around and be like, hey, do I do this to my husband? Am I treating him this way? And make sure we're not treating them poorly as well. Another caveat I want to say is a lot of times the conflict can be exacerbated because the man will actually leave, which causes our anxiety to rise. He might go to another room, who knows, and we might chase him down because we want, to heal things, and that makes us scared, especially if you have any fears of abandonment or just in general. I know I would like pray and think like, oh, I need to go apologize to my husband, but he wasn't ready for that. And then when I would come and try, this is pre Laura Doyle, pre skills. When I would come to apologize, I would kind of rehash everything again, which would make my husband even more frustrated because he was trying to calm himself down and work through his thoughts because he didn't want to fight. He didn't want to fight. And honestly, I didn't want to fight either, but I don't know. It just kept happening. So I do have a video talking about how to conflict resolution, a different way to approach conflict in marriage that can be helpful. So that's something to think about. If your husband does get escalated in conflicts, think about, does at any point does he try to leave or say he doesn't want to talk about it and you're pressing him, you're following him. But like I said, in the reverse, if you're trying to leave the room and he's chasing you down, obviously that's a situation. I can't be talked to this way. I can't be treated like this, whatever it is. You don't have to make any threats, ultimatums, about your marriage. You're just, I'm going to leave, you know, um, I'll be back later when things are calm or when things are whatever. I can't be treated like this. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Again, if you have more questions, but this is where I like to be able to help support you in implementing the skills and going through the book because there are things like this that arise. So please consider joining our book club or just joining my Patreon if you want to be able to message me any questions, concerns as you're reading the book. I would love to help you do that. I want to empower women. I want you to have a different way to go about things so you don't feel so stuck and hopeless. And yeah, I hope everyone's having or has a great day. And let me know if you have any questions.